This is the market pulse update for Monday, 10 August 2026. And welcome. We start with the dollar, and we see that currently the dollar is still in its bull trend like last week, with the counter trend in price and momentum. What we see here is a lower high, and maybe here another lower high, even though at the moment it seems as if momentum is on the negative side, as we can see here with this red line. The two moving averages is still positive. We go to the VIX. And as we can see, still this bearish trend on the VIX on the weekly chart. It's below its two moving averages, which is red. And we can also see that price and momentum is aligned with that. But as we can see here, it is in this area here, we're starting to get into that area. And so some or other time we can expect a turnaround in the VIX and expect more volatility in the market. Which brings us to the US government bonds 10-year yield. And here we see it is now totally turned to bullish again, with price aligned and momentum aligned. And we can see how we actually go here to this area in the momentum. Lower high, lower high, lower high. The SPY is continuing its bull trend with price aligned and momentum, and we see quite a strong upward movement last week, and this week it is also continuing. On the Nasdaq, we see slightly different picture. There's a counter trend in terms of the price, but otherwise the picture more or less the same as the SPY, with here a lower high, and another lower high there. The Amplify CWP Growth and Income ETF, very similar to the Nasdaq, but in this case the bull is aligned with price and momentum, as we can see. Let's look at oil. And we see that oil is still in that bearish trend. Price is aligned with the bearish movement, but we see there's a counter trend, a bullish counter trend in the momentum. And this is what we see here, that little V here in the black line. And we see here also momentum turning green. Moving now towards that moving average and closed above this average. The US dollar versus the South African rand, and price or the picture is similar here, still a bull with counter trend in price and momentum. So the rand is becoming stronger against the dollar with this counter trend, quite a strong counter trend, as we can see here, as the dollar go into negative territory over against the rand, and we're sitting now at 16.21 rand for a dollar. Moving to the gold. Gold spot price in US dollar. Very interesting picture here that we still have the bear trend, but there's a strong counter trend in terms of price and a strong counter trend in momentum. With price now sitting above this moving average, even though the moving average is still red, this average red too, but the black line has moved in between them. We see here a strong V last week, and that has continued this week, slightly less strong, but still making a pattern here that brings the two together. And then we look at Bitcoin. Bit of a mixed picture in Bitcoin because even though there is still this bearish trend, we see a counter trend in price, but the momentum is still aligned with the bearish move. Bitcoin is basically forming kind of a base here in this area. Ethereum is still in its bullish trend with the price aligned with that, as well as the momentum we see here from June the 29th, more or less. It moved upwards. Now it's a bit going sideways, and we will have to see where it goes from here. This moving average has turned green, but this one still stays red at the moment. And this brings us to the Satrix MSC World Fund that we can see is still in its bullish trend with price aligned and momentum aligned. The Satrix Emerging Funds is still in a bull trend, but we see the strong counter trend in price and momentum, and that happened since the 2nd of June, as it had this counter trend, and now it's pinching here together, and so we will have to see what its next move will be. More or less in that area, it seems there is a form of support. Both moving averages turns is still bullish and green, but price now just touching this moving average. The Satrix 500, basically the S&P 500 feeder fund. We see that the trend is still bullish, and price and momentum is aligned with that. We can see that with this cross, then we saw quite strong upward move, but that upward move is losing momentum as we see this black line curving downwards. Nasdaq, bit of a similar picture, even though on the table the picture is a bit mixed. Still in this bullish trend, but there's a counter trend in price, while momentum is still aligned. We also see that also Nasdaq have a sharp decline in momentum lately, with a bit of an uptick this week. The Satrix 40, basically the GA is either top 40 of the JSE. We see still in its bearish trend, but there is now a counter trend in both price and momentum. It went over these two moving averages, and now price is above that. We see this strong momentum as the two lines pinching together, and we will see what is going to happen. Will it push further upward from here? The RAFI, similar picture, a bearish trend, but a counter trend in price and momentum. The Satrix Dividend Fund, here the picture is slightly different. We see that it is, like the others, in a bearish trend. The price is not aligned, or the price is aligned with a bearish movement, and there's a counter trend in momentum. Didn't cross as clearly over its two moving average lines, and even closed lightly below it. Satrix bonds, still in its bearish market, but then we are in a counter trend at the moment. You can see here that when it crossed there, we had the strong upward push, and here things started to turn more bearish, even I would say kind of there, because here the line made a V and it went higher than those two, and that could have signaled that here we have a bearish trend. From here on, we could have concluded that we have a more bullish trend, and here things become less certain, even though we can see here that because of the fact that these two moved now similar as there, we can expect bonds prices to go higher. The Satrix inflation-linked bonds, very strong picture here. We can see that when this cross happened, we had the strong push upwards, last year momentum, and that brought the price down, but now it went up again, came down a little bit, and pushed up again. Still in this bullish trend, price counter at the moment, but momentum still aligned with that bullish movement. The global bonds are all still bearish. In fact, it's continued its bearish momentum. We can see when it crossed here, all that bearish momentum started, but then we had this upward push for a while, and then the bearish momentum took over again and is in quite a high territory at the moment. Could we see maybe a change? Because we can see here that If I have that now, no. Trend line. If I put in a trend line here, then we can see that there's a divergence of this trend line over the price. Price is going down, but this line is going up, which might make us think that bonds might turn around in the near future. Which brings us to, lastly, the Satrix property. And here we're still in that bullish momentum, and trend and price also aligned with that. That specifically happened when the black line crossed over here, and we're still going bullish on our properties. So that is our Market Pulse report for Monday, the 10th of August, 2026. See you next week.